I would not be a good actress if it had not been for opera, because opera, there's so much going on that you have to, like, your stage presence in order to bring those characters to life. It's hard to sing like that and act,
Yeah.
but you have to do it. You have to bring, in order to really infuse the role with emotion, you have to use your entire instrument. And with opera, everything is your instrument.
Welcome to episode 5 of Behind the Credits. I'm here with a very special guest, Rafeedah Keys. She's voice acted in many video games. I'd love to hear what have you done? What video games have you done?
I've done so many. Half of them I don't even remember, because I've done The Suffering, Ties That Bind, and that won like awards years ago. The Curse of Darkness, a bunch for Nintendo, just tons of different games. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I need to put together a list. But after a while, you do so many voice gigs, you're just like, oh, well, and another one,
Yeah, this is just what we do now.
Oh, here's another one. Yeah, and so you're on to the next.
So I wanted to start with The Suffering. So how do you even get that script? How do you even audition to begin with?
So, well, it's a pretty long process. So let me give you some background as to got into this, because it was definitely different than a lot of people. I was an opera singer for, I studied opera and sang opera for about 10 years.
Wow.
And so, opera is a very challenging thing to do. You always have to rest your voice. And so you're not living. You're certainly not doing the things your friends are doing, going out and drinking and having a ball time. So, because you always have to save your voice. And it got to a point where I was like, you know what, I'm young. I kind of want to retire from this, but I like the money.
Yeah.
So, people were encouraging me to really get into acting, like outside of theater. And so I got an agent, a really great agent in Seattle named Topo Swope. And she had, I think, my first audition, I got the job, and it was for a commercial, and it was a SAG commercial, so Screen Actors Guild. And
awesome.
I took it because I was like, oh, I would love to get that credential. And I did, after a few jobs. And so people started commenting about how clear my voice was. They were like, you know what, I think you'd be good at doing voice acting. And I was like, sure, whatever. Is the money there? And the money's good because you can go in and do a 1 hour, 2 hour spot and make thousands of dollars. And so I was being sent on auditions for, car commercials, things like that. And I was booking these jobs. And finally, Nintendo took note, and they were like, hey, we want you to do some video games. I was like, yeah, sure. Is the money good? Mind you, I do love it, but my love was theater, right? So this was just another layer to that. And so then Richard Rouse, who is just this really fantastic writer, producer, contacted me, and he said, I have the script. He's contacted my agent, excuse me. And I went on the audition. He said, yep, she's the one. And so then we recorded.
Yeah. So I'm curious about your relationship with your agent. Like, how do you dictate jobs, and how do you find things that you're interested in?
Your agent really, really knows you. They know what to send you on. They know what you like. Like, she's not going to send me on any jobs where they're like, take your clothes off. I'd be like, that's not me. No. Now, if I had Gabrielle Union, Carmen Electra, if I had their bodies, I might be like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll take something off. But I'm not working with that. I'm not working with what they got. So my agent knows me pretty well. And so she would just send me on jobs that definitely voice jobs that, could be, more than one recording, worked with my schedule, etc. So she's just a top agent in my region in Seattle. So she knew what to send me on. So, if I didn't want a job, then I would just tell her.
Yeah. So when you get a voice acting role, how do you prepare for the role? How much information are you given?
So they send you the script. And of course you read that and you try to get into character. You try a bunch of different voices just to see what might resonate with the director. But also, for me, I would still do my voice exercises, which were pretty extensive when you sing classically trained. So it could be an hour of doing voice exercises beforehand, but that also depends on the character, right? If I'm playing somebody street, I'm not going to do opera exercises beforehand. I'm going to come with my roughest voice, depending on the character. Now, if I'm a street nun, then I might do some opera characters, opera exercises, but you just want to be as authentic as possible. So, but I went through Meisner training, a Meisner conservatory, which is a type of acting, right?
Okay.
So I did that for a long time, and that really helps you get into character. It's not method acting where you literally you're like, well, I'm a drug addict and this is what we're doing. Let me take drugs. I don't do that. So Meisner is sufficient for me to try to get into character. And of course I would apply some of those exercises as well.
What are some of those exercises to get into character? Like, what do you have to do?
They're very interesting, like Meisner chair work, where like, if you and I are sitting here doing Meisner chair work, I may respond to you like I'd say, you're agreeable, you're happy, like just reading you, right? And you would do the same to me. If I furrowed my brow, you could say you're questioning, so it's just back and forth. And so, for me, I would just kind of dive into the character. Try to figure out a backstory and things like that. A lot of things that are related to the Meisner technique.
So, thinking about that, my eye has been opened because I watched a few videos, and one of the interesting thing was the collaborative process. I was surprised how collaborative acting is. So I was wondering, what is your perspective with collaborating between you and like a director? Like, what's that relationship like?
Well, you always want to hear the director's vision, and you want to, as much as possible, follow what, the instructions that they're giving you. And, at times, if a director is not closed off, then you make suggestions. You're like, well, what do you think about this? Can I try this? That sort of thing. Sometimes they'll like it, sometimes they won't. But you always land at a place where they're satisfied, you're satisfied, etc. And those jobs where you don't, where it's just like the director's like my way or the highway, a lot of people are like, oh, this sucks. I hate this, because they're just not very giving. And acting is about giving.
Yeah. So you voice acted in The Suffering. What was that experience like? Like auditioning and then being a part of the process? Because I heard a quote from one of the blogs that said they found their emotional center after working with you. So I was wondering, how did you affect the script and stuff like that?
So Richard is a phenomenal director. And the difference between a great director and someone who is just, there to either do a job or doesn't care. Richard cares about his characters. He cares about his actors. He makes it very, very easy to collaborate. I can't say enough good things about Richard, truly, because he helps center you. So for him to say, oh, they found their emotional center after working with me, that's really surprising because I feel like Richard knows his characters so well because he writes them. He's writing these scripts. That he really helps center the actors, and he brings so much to it. He's almost like another actor in the room in the way he directs you.
So another thing I wanted to add was, when it's a video game, is there a different direction you have to take your voice acting? Do you have to see the gameplay?
And so one of the reasons I like working with Richard is because Richard, like I said, pulls out the emotional depth of the characters. Whereas, for instance, I remember one Nintendo game that I was voicing. I was just like, boy, this is super interesting because you're literally just making noises. And this one was a snowboarding game. And so I was just like, you had to make noises like, I just felt doing this over and over again. And it was just very, the characters weren't as alive. And mind you, this was a long time ago. This was actually for this game 10, 15 years ago. So the characters were just very sterile. It's that type of game where it was like a lot of if-then statements, a lot of if-then play, which all games are. But This one, it's not like the characters had any backstories. You were just trying to make the jump or something like that.
Yeah.
So, it was very much so like old comics where it's like, bam, yeah, you're just like, it's like an old Batman comic.
Yeah.
So there are games that are like that. And then there are games where there are just amazing characters that actually have a lot of dialogue.
Mhm. Yeah.
So those games can be very satisfying to do because, you're in it. You feel like you're in the script. And,
Yeah.
for the Suffering, I know MTV bought the rights to the game years ago because they were going to make it into a movie. And at the time, like, hey, would you be interested in auditioning, like that sort of thing? But I think it's still on the shelf, so they never made it. But it was exciting to just think that they would actually make this into a movie.
When that was being talked to being a movie, were you part of that? Like, were they like, you're going to be acting in that role?
No, not necessarily, because you always have to hold auditions. Nor would I think that I would be the one to cast. I mean, they cast Tandy Newton, Tandy Way. I think that her new name or her original name that she's just now told us what it is. If they could cast her, if they could cast Zoe Saldana, I'd be the first one to say yes, them, give them. So I would have been open to it. I would have opened to playing a clerk, or a demon on the side, sure, but I at that level at MTV want the movie to be profitable, so get the best, most visible actress you can.
So you did The Suffering.
That team.
You want that for that team, yeah.
For the team, for Richard and his team, yeah, I definitely want that for them.
So you did The Suffering, and then you did The Suffering 2, which is the ties that bind. What is that process of doing another one?
It's incredible how easy it is to get back in voice when you've done a voiceover. You've voiced characters before, and so it just feels like coming home when you're doing something a second time. And I had forgotten that I did that. But that's what I mean when you forget, because there are so many projects that you really, truly just forget that you did things. And I still have people who email me, who will send me messages and say, oh my gosh, you're the person from The Suffering. That was so long ago, but they recognize the voice. I got the creepiest message on Facebook a few years ago, 3 years ago, where this guy was like, oh my gosh, I listen to your voice in that game all the time. I just want you to know that it affected me so much. And I was like, this game was about cold-blooded murder. I'm like, this is kind of concerning. So, but I remember I shared it with a few people. I was like, these are the kind of messages I get. These fans are just something else. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But it's easy to get back into character when you voice characters that you love. And the director, Richard, of course, got me right back there as well. He reminds me, of the tones and things like that. Because in that game, I voiced probably 3, maybe 4 characters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how do you develop the backstories of these characters? Like, what do you pull upon to make those backstories?
Well, I won't talk about that game because the backstories are so
yeah, they're so gruesome. Yeah.
Yeah, they're so well developed. I didn't have to do much because Richard gave me the backstory. But for other games, you just kind of it just depends on the game whether you need to dive deeply or not. I've done plenty of shoot 'em up games. I've done games with veterans. Soldiers. I'll say that, soldiers. Yeah. And those, it's fairly easy to get into the backstory because you just look at, is this soldier dealing with PTSD? Are they happy? Are they clueless? That sort of thing. And so it's incredibly, I'm trying to remember the name of the game, but there was one game where the female soldiers were so stupid. I was like, is this really what female soldiers? I'm like, I don't think female soldiers are like this. So, it was almost as if they pulled somebody off the side of the road selling strawberries and said, you're a soldier now. You know what I mean? I'm like, this person go through boot camp because this is a stupid person. So those are kind of difficult to play. I just pretend I'm like Rose Nyland from Golden Girls as a soldier. And at that point, you're like, pretty terrible soldier. You understand why she's always getting blasted, basically. So sometimes the backstory you pull from other characters that you've seen, or you're just able to say, okay, I'm going to make this one up. This person went through boot camp, had a terrible time, doesn't really want to be in the military, but is here, is trying to shoot their way out so they can get home. Probably doesn't care if they get injured at this point because they want to go home because how stupid this this particular character is. Not to say that that's the case in real life, but
okay. So when you're given the scripts to record, how long do you have with the material? Like, is it just taken like the day of, or do you get like a week, or is it all at once and you just read through the whole thing?
It could be anything. I've had voice acting jobs where I get the script when I get to the studio, and the director will say, this is how, they'll give you direction. This is how I'd like read, blah, blah, blah. And so you just do it. A lot of times those are just straight reads, right? For ones that require a lot more acting, they definitely give you the script well in advance, maybe a week. You're not expected to memorize everything because, of course, it's voice acting. You can read it from the page. But yeah, you get enough time to, I've never felt like I didn't have enough time to prepare.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Because I've always been worried about when an actor's given a script, like sometimes it's like the turnover's so fast. Like, how in the world are you going to memorize this?
And I think it's almost like dancers. Sometimes I'll watch videos of dancers and they are just learning routine. And it looks like they've picked it up so quickly. And I try to do it. I'm like, this is going to take me a year to learn this. They are so good. And I used to be better when I was doing dance for like theater. And when I was younger, I could pick things up much quicker. When you're doing a lot of voice acting, after a while, it just, it's just fast.
Just clicks?
Yeah, you don't even think about it because it's like, okay, I can definitely do this, and your confidence grows. So, but
so
I enjoyed the video games, but I enjoyed the commercials, commercials for Cinnabon, HGTV, stuff like that. So it was always fun to do. It just, whatever the voice job was, it was fun. I know I did an audiobook once. I can't tell you the name of the audiobook. I completely forgot. I wish I had a list. Why don't I have a list? But those audiobooks are probably the hardest to me. Because they just take forever. They take forever. Yeah. I've done trainings, especially back in the day where there wasn't a lot of video trainings, but they were doing a lot of audio trainings or self-help books online or on tape and stuff like that. So I've done that. Those are definitely the hardest ones to be because after a while you get bored.
Yeah,
I'm bored. We're on the 5th hour here, and I could be done with this and be happy. So
yeah. So what about advertisements makes you so excited about them? You seem like you love them.
Oh, it's just fun because you're just doing you're trying a bunch of different things. You're, how many ways can you say, curious about this project? Let HGTV show you how, that sort of thing. That's all I have to say. But it's just fun because then when you see it on TV or hear it on the radio, you're like, that's me. So it's really, to me, a lot of fun because you can hear it at any time.
Yeah. What about finding an agent? How exactly did you get an agent? Because that's like one of the big stepping stones as an actor or voice actor. Like, how do you even do it?
It wasn't hard for me. It wasn't hard for me because I think, Seattle is a smaller pond. If I were in LA doing this, I think it'd be like much tougher in LA or New York. But I think a lot of agents, they want to fill their roster, right? So at the time, I don't think there were lots of Black actresses in my age group in this area. So I think I probably, actually, that's not true. An ex-boyfriend helped me with this. So there was a casting director named Jody who was really awesome. And she had a class where, the person teaching the class was this guy, Mark, an ex-boyfriend. And so Mark and I hit it off. We hit it off. So he was with a certain agent. He was with Topo Swope, with the best agent in the city. And he said, let me call her and I'll tell her to see you. And so he did. And I saw her. And I think Topo really liked Mark. She thought he was a great actor. He is a great actor. And she said, sure, I'll sign her. So it was fairly easy for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
I had an interview earlier and someone said it's more about who you know than what you know. How do you like make those connections with people so you get those opportunities?
The funny thing is, because I had already been singing opera, I knew so many creative people in the city. I took, I went to Freehold Theater Lab and took the Meisner Conservatory class, and I did another conservatory somewhere else. I don't remember. A bad memory, apparently. So I was already really plugged into the art scene in the region. I was singing at Fifth Avenue Theater and in Bellevue, all these different places. So I knew a lot of people already by the time I started acting. And so it just, for me, it always seemed easy. It's not easy all the time for people, and I recognize that. But I think really my start in opera helped me.
Yes,
A lot.
of course. Has opera in any way informed your like acting in the way that you perform?
100%. 100. I would not be a good actress if it had not been for opera, because opera, there's so much going on that you have to, like, your stage presence in order to bring those characters to life. It's hard to sing like that and act.
Yeah.
But you have to do it. You have to bring, in order to really infuse the role with emotion, you have to use your entire instrument. And with opera, everything is your instrument. It's not just your voice, it's your body, it's your breathing, everything counts. So that sort of training, that level of training really made a difference. It's like how they say a lot of ballerinas who dance ballet can do almost anything because they've been trained. They have to learn so many different techniques when it comes to dancing. And so it's that sort of thing.
Okay. So it definitely informed the way that you do things in the future.
It did. It informed a lot of things in my life. It took a lot of discipline to be an opera singer, a lot of discipline. I practiced almost every day for 10 years. I didn't even taste alcohol until I was 28 because I was singing, and it was like nothing was going to get in the way of my instrument, my goals, what I wanted to do. So the discipline is the craziest part of everything, but I've taken that discipline to everything, my career, how I approach a lot of things in my life. And I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity.
Jumping off discipline, actually, I wasn't going to talk about this, but you know what? Why not? Consistency. How do you find consistency? Because I'm struggling with that. So how do you find a consistent discipline?
You have to care. You have to be passionate about it. You have to be passionate about something. And there are things that can get in the way, like lots of distractions. But if you are looking at your goal, if you have your goal in mind and you keep that first and foremost, very little will get in your way. You have to, again, that passion is important. But you also have to study the greats. When I would look at, listen to Denise Graves or Maria Callas or just any of the Leontine Price, would just send me, right? And I want to be that someday. So I was constantly studying their voices. And I had a tremendous coach, Pamela Casella, who was just still to this day one of the people I admire most in the world, because and she sang with Pavarotti and all these a phenomenal opera singer, the kind of person that will bring a room to tears with just a few notes, and you're like, what was that? But everybody notice. And so she really helped me as well, because she was a consistent person in my life. And so she believed in me, which helped me believe in me. And so when somebody actually believes in you and is constantly telling you, you're going to do it, you're going to get there, you did a great job, this was amazing, you believe it. So that encouragement, getting that encouragement all the time, consistent encouragement, it's important.
Yeah. Jumping off that, mentorship, it sounds like you found some powerful mentors. How do you find those people?
My mentors found me. I guess things have been pretty easy for me at times, but I've been so lucky to be surrounded by the most amazing women who absolutely believed in me, who just, at every turn, no matter what, would tell me I could do it. They believed in my, they would see my potential and say, yeah, let's turn this potential into reality, into accomplishments. And they were there with me every step of the way, and they never left me. And so that, I
Yes.
think, makes the difference when you have mentors, again, people that believe in you, people that say, no, I see it in you. You have whatever it is, you have it. So you can take this far. That is better than gold.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So now I'm jumping back into the video games.
Okay.
In the church, in the darkness, that recording process, it's such a long time from the earlier recording and this one. I think it's like 10 or 15 years between the Shuddering and the Church of Darkness. What's the recording process difference? Like through that time, has the whole process changed? Like what's going on?
No, there haven't, no changes, at least from what I've seen. You can be, different studios offer different things, right? Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
the mic is right here, sometimes the right mic is upright, right in front of you. It's the only differences I have seen really are in the directors and in the projects themselves. So sometimes you need more guidance, other times you need less. But the recording process itself hasn't really changed. Now, I'm not in the booth, when it comes manipulating the levels and things like that. So that may have changed for people. And I did at one point think, let me go to school. I want to learn this. I want to take some trainings and stuff like that. Then I thought, let me leave that to the experts themselves. Yeah, but nothing really has changed.
Wow, that's surprising. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
So you played Kian and Teresa. Teresa? Yeah, Teresa. I hope I'm saying those right.
Did I?
And I was gonna ask, well, how did you get into those characters? Because one's about.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I don't remember any character names from any project I've ever done. So.
Oh wow.
except opera. So I remember those. That's right.
So when a video game comes out, do you ever go back to a project? Do you ever look back on things you've created, or do you just move on?
I just move on. I've never looked back. I've never played any video game that I've recorded. I'm not a gamer. My heyday was Super Mario Brothers. Sorry to break it, and that I played that game, but I was in high school, so it was just that was it. And Ninja Gaiden, I remember Ninja Gaiden, but no, I never go back. I hear from other people who play the game. I remember at one point my brother-in-law was like, "I just got this game and you're in it," and all this other. So I've heard from a lot of people that were like, "I saw your name on this game," or "I heard the voice," and I was like, "That's Rafeedah," so that sort of thing. But no, I've never gone back and played the games or anything like that. So,
well, what do you think about? Because I'm noticing this really weird trend where video games are becoming movies. Like they're literally like movies are becoming video games, and video games become movies, and they're just colliding into this one sphere. How do you think your voice acting is going to change from that? Because I see people wearing mocap suits now, like they're doing physical performances. Do you think you're going to be doing that?
I've done motion capture before. I've done that a few times, and I actually really enjoy that because it's a different kind of acting to me. It's just all physical. And so having all of these little sensors, on you, and you're moving, and that to me was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun because it's just a different kind of artistry altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that ever get in the way? The not at all?
Nope, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. And I've never done I've done motion capture on things where I wasn't a voice actor or anything like that. So this was just basically for the animation.
Wow.
So, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So
what is oh, sorry, I keep interrupting you.
Motion capture today. I probably could. I just haven't done it in such a long time, but I'm telling you, it was a blast when you do it. It's a blast.
Yeah. I bet it is. It sounds awesome.
Yeah. And I've had friends who took like sword fighting and things like that, and they do motion capture all the time. And
Oh,
it's just amazing to watch the videos of them doing their work. So it's super exciting.
yeah. It's a weird thing to see now that we're like stepping away from even like physical shooting. Like it's now become like
Yeah.
3D shooting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting to see though. I just, what I hope never happens is we get to a point where or actresses and actors are not able to do their thing because we're relying on, deep fakes and all these other things
Yeah.
where we get rid of humans. And we live in a world of Simone's. I don't know if you remember that movie, where it's like, it's just a CGI, a CGI actress or something like that, because
Yeah.
we're getting to look very realistic now, which I applaud because I love innovation. But at the same time, there's something amazing about humans that I hope we
Hmm.
keep.
Why did you do so many video games if you don't play them? Like, why did you voice act in so many video games?
Money, money. I mean, no, well, because I felt like I was really good at it. I can do this. It's not, I'm not one of those voice actors that can do a ton of different voices. It's my
Mhm.
voice, right? And so if you like
Yeah.
my voice and the small variations that I can do with my voice, then that's what you're getting. So I'm not going to be Elmo, for instance. Can I do character voices? Absolutely. But they're going to be just a few degrees of my regular speaking voice. Besides money, I actually really like it. I'm passionate about art. I'm
Yeah.
passionate about creativity. So anytime I can do something creative, which voiceovers, acting, opera, all fall within that. Um, Painting, I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Sign me up.
Me too.
Sign, yeah. It's just it's so thrilling. It's so thrilling. Anytime, I mean, when you're acting, it feels like it activates something, a different side of your brain, and you just
Hmm.
feel so alive, which is interesting because you're in a sense escaping reality. but
Yeah.
if you're able to just put on this persona, this cloak of a different person, I can imagine that's how people feel when they do cosplay or something like that. It just
Yeah.
really good. It feels really good. You feel like you're expanding yourself. You feel like you're understanding more about people, about the universe, and it, to me, makes you a less judgmental person.
Hmm.
So people wonder why a lot of actors and actresses are liberals. It's because there's just a lot less judgment. You just feel like, no, the human experience is so interesting to embody,
Yeah.
just so interesting, and you're putting yourself in another person's shoes, and the more you do that, the more you feel you understand or can understand other people. And
Hmm.
so extending a hand or being open, those kinds of things, are not necessarily bad things in this world. So
Yeah. So you take on other perspectives by playing these other characters.
yes, you were stepping into another person's shoes.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've never murdered a bunch of people. I've never dated somebody, but in a lot of these video games, this is exactly what I'm doing. And so
Yeah.
um, I don't have that desire, but I can put that on in order to play a character.
Hmm. So the audition process, another part of the audition process. How many auditions does it take until you get a role? Is your agent responsible for you having like less hits and misses, or like how do you view going into audition to begin with?
So my agent is responsible for 99% of the jobs I get, I would say,
Mm.
because an agent really does a lot of work on your behalf. And so I've never had a problem, breaking off a piece of that Kit Kat bar and paying them. I'm like, no, you deserve every gold coin you get. And that's a good agent will do that for you. So the audition process is normally it was just one audition and you get the role or you don't. So
Mm.
it's not like a job interview in the corporate world where you have to go for 4 different rounds or something like that. You get in there, if they like you, if they feel the energy aligns with the project, then you get the job. So yeah.
Yeah.
but my agent, my agents over the years have been awesome.
Yeah. How do you foster the relationship with your agent? How do they understand who you are? Do you have meetings like discussing what you want in the future? Are you, is it like a collaborative process? Like you're like, what's the vision that I see of this year? Like, how does that relationship work?
Not a lot of. I wouldn't say there's a lot of visions. There's not this a vision for each year or something like that. They kind of know what you want. They know who you are. They know if your priorities in life have changed and you're like, I need to slow down. I'm not going to be auditioning as much now. Then that's one thing. But a lot of times it's just conversations. You talk to your agent a lot. You'll talk to your agent maybe
Wow.
3 or 4 times a week because there's always a new audition. And so
Okay.
they give you the details, they tell you about the character. They're like, if they give you advice, that's great. But you just go in and audition, but you talk to them a lot. You have your agent on speed dial. Yeah.
That surprises me. I didn't expect that. You'd be
Oh no.
talking to your agent all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Because they always have something new for you. They're like, okay,
Hmm.
I have an audition. This is where you need to go. This is the time, what will work for you, that sort of thing. So they're calendaring your audition. Yeah, everything. And they're
Wow.
communicating. They're communicating with the party seeking an actress or an actor. So yeah, they're that middleman.
Have you ever thought about not just doing the acting, but maybe casting or directing or shooting? Have you done any projects like that?
No, I have worked behind the scenes on sets before,
Hmm.
in different roles. And like right now, I'm actually helping to negotiate an investment into a film.
Hmm.
So there are just different roles that you take on that you don't even think that you're going to do because of conversations or experiences and things like that. I'm helping a friend with a side project, an indie film that she's doing in Seattle. And I'm not acting in it, just helping behind the scenes. You just kind of, when you're in this world, you help out where you can. I've never
Yeah.
wanted to direct. Um, I think I'd be an awful director because I'd be like, well, just do what you feel. They're like, what's your vision? I'm like, you're my vision. What do you think? They'd be like, I think that this is a chaotic process. So I'm not the one to direct.
Yeah.
I think I've done some producing on indie films, so nothing major. But really my passion has been in front of the camera, voice acting and things like that.
Yeah. What's it like being a producer? So here's a little caveat. I watched this show and it's this anime and it's about them making their own anime studio. And what's really interesting was how impactful the producer was. It's like keeping them on schedule, talking about like what needs to get done.
And
Like, what's that job like?
I'm not that level of producer at all. In fact,
Yeah.
it was more like I was given a producing credit for just helping behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So if anything, they were very generous in calling me a producer.
Mhm.
I know producers, and that is a full-time job. Like that is, they are miracle workers on set. I am not that. But
Yeah.
I have helped out and just background stuff. I think if I had time, I could do it because I'm very organized and I've done a lot with events and a lot in the arts world. But it has not been an interest of mine to date.
Yeah.
So
When you're working with the director, what is that relationship like? Because I feel like it's very collaborative, but I was wondering how much of your input influences the character.
it all depends. It all depends. I have at times, again, there are directors who are very collaborative and very open to their the talent's opinion.
Hmm.
And so they give you leeway. They say, okay, well, what is your instinct with this character? What do you think you want to do with this character? Um, and then there are directors that have a very strong set vision and they don't want you to experiment at all.
Yeah.
If a producer is the former, it's a very enjoyable experience. And that isn't to say if they're the latter, very rigid, that it's not enjoyable, because sometimes you get a director like that and you realize, okay, this was super hard for me. This took me outside of my comfort zone. And then you hear the project and you're like, this is amazing. This was really good.
Yeah.
People who were really like that, to me, interestingly enough, were anybody that came out of Microsoft Studios. They knew what they wanted, and it was at times you're like, this is rough. I wish they were a little more flexible. But then you see the project, and you're like, this is really good. I was the spokeswoman for MSN Video for when it first launched.
Yeah.
And at the time, internet, all of these videos and things like that were just being taken to the internet, and so it was fairly new to do that. But yeah, it just depends. It depends on the confidence level of the director. A director who is really confident at times is far more open.
Got it.
And will listen.
What was your so when you got into opera, how was the beginning of starting that journey like?
Oh,
it informs a lot of your acting.
It does. And the thing is, I never wanted to sing opera at first. I was like, I'm here for jazz. But every time I opened my mouth, it came out very classical. It came out very operatic. And so I tried. I was like, I'm going to be a jazz singer. And jazz was like, we don't want you. So opera worked out. But it was bumpy at first because it's not something I expected to do. And at first I fought against it. But then it sort of took off because I realized my voice was soaring when it came to opera. It was just, it was much easier for me than any other genre.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I love opera. I definitely grew to love it. I became very passionate about it within a year of starting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, talking about unexpected turns, I heard this whole new concept where it's like you don't know where your success is going to come from. Like, how do you grab onto those opportunities? How do you make sure that you deliver on them?
So the thing about that is, it's a convergence of a lot of things. Your mentors who are constantly opening doors for you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you open the door and you see an open door and you step through it, and you have experience because you were able to recognize it, you take a few steps and there's another door. There's another mentor opening, or another person of influence opening a door for you. You've got to take advantage of what's in front of you. And it means hard work, because every time you work hard, you gain another set of skills. You're presented with new opportunities. And a lot of times people think, oh, this person is lucky. That person may have worked really, really hard and actually decided to walk through the doors that they see. A lot of times people just don't take advantage of the opportunities in front of them. And when that happens, they're like, oh, well, I'm not getting breaks in life. I'm not getting this. I'm not getting that. It's like, well, there were 15 doors that you passed up. You just decide, and just choose one. If there are 15, you don't have to be immobilized by indecision. Just walk through a door, because the funny thing is, you walk through that door, you're going to see those same doors are on the other side too, with a few more doors. That's how you create a path.
Yeah. Well, that's some really great advice.
Well, that's how it works. That's reality. Yeah. You just walk through those doors, and you haven't given up the other opportunities. They're still there. You just get more.
Yeah. So what would be a big piece of advice for someone wanting to get into voice acting?
Get to know the players, get to know the studios, find out what the projects are, and find a really good agent. A lot of times people won't just hire, anybody off the street, but immerse yourself in the art scene. There are so many, there isn't one thing I did, you know what I mean? I've mentioned a lot of things that I did, whether going to a conservatory, getting an agent, singing opera, all of those things led to every opportunity that I have. So work on yourself for sure. Get involved in the industry. So if there's an opportunity to volunteer on a movie set, do it, because you're going to get to know people, and those people know people, those people know people, that sort of thing. And eventually some of those people will be directors and producers of voice projects. You get to know them and you tell them your interests. People will want to help you if you've been helpful to them or if you have a good reputation.
Mm.
Do the work.
Wow, that's
So
great.
get a good agent if you can. They
Okay.
make a difference.
Well, I think I'm going to end it here. Thank you for being on. It's been amazing. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.